Hi, my name is Jen Cheney. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development for Right at Home. And today, joining me, I have Margaret Haynes, our CEO of Right at Home. Margaret, so why don't we start with you telling me a little bit about your journey with Right at Home from the day you started until present day today?
So I started with Right at Home back in 2011, joined as the Senior Vice President over the support organization. And then in 2014, I became the Chief Operating Officer. And then most recently, in April of 2022, I became the CEO of Right at Home.
Great. So tell me personally about yourself, your family, what you like to do for fun.
Yeah, so I am the mother of two wonderful daughters that are 19 and 21. I started my career really in the banking side of the business. Financial management and did that for 18 years before saying, I really wanted a career that was talking to the healthcare side of things, but also use my business background because half of my family was in the healthcare field. And then I obviously was on the business side. So I had the pleasure of, joining Right at Home and learning not only healthcare, but franchising and really being able to help small business owners build sustainable, profitable businesses. So that I love doing. I really love seeing people, grow a business and build this incredible asset. And on the side, I also just love doing anything outside. Exercise, hiking, biking, all of those sorts of things are kind of what I fill my day with and my weeks to have fun.
Great, great. Okay, so let's start in the beginning. Tell me how Right at Home was founded.
Yeah, so Right at Home was founded in 1995 by Alan Hager. And he was a hospital administrator and had been seeing people, patients or clients getting discharged from the hospital and worried that maybe they didn't have the right support system at home to really help them come home, stay in compliance with medications, make sure they're eating healthy, all those things that would help them keep them out of coming back to the hospital. So he decided to start a company that would provide additional resources for individuals in their home that would help allow them to be supported and essentially age gracefully wherever they call home. And so that was the starting of Right at Home, where he started an initial office in 95. And then in 2000, the decision was made to take this concept and franchise it. So that was the point when then we started to bring on additional opportunities for other people to create an office similar to what Alan had done. Then there's the history of the last 22 years of franchising.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the Right at Home business model. What types of services does Right at Home provide?
Yeah, so Right at Home plays in what we call kind of family funded care, or the older term that we've been using is private duty. And essentially, what that means is the primary payer source is the family, and it's the family deciding what does my loved one need to have in terms of care, to additional support to allow them age gracefully wherever they call home. And so we have essentially three levels of care that we think about. The first level of care is homemaker companion, and that's what we call hands-off care. So help with cooking and cleaning, light housekeeping, just engagement, socialization, those sorts of things. The next step up from that is what we call personal care, and that's more the hands-on care and really helping with activities of daily living. So grooming and bathing and those sorts of things. And then we do now have a few offices that are now moving into what we call specialized nursing services. And that's really helping with some more complex type care, like maybe wound care, but it's not care that is already being provided by home health. So there's a difference between home health and home care, whereas the payer source on the home health side is your more traditional Medicare. And on our side of the business, we do play with VA in terms of reimbursement,
Mhm.
long-term care insurance, and in some states we also do the Medicaid waiver. But really the primary business is that family-funded care that's supplemental to what any home health or Medicare would provide.
Okay. So what you mentioned all of the things that Right at Home services do provide. So what are some of the types of services that we don't provide?
Yeah, and that real difference is the difference between home health and home care. So, from a home health perspective, they may do direct skilled nursing, and so they may do trach therapy or physical therapy or occupational therapy. So those kinds of services are not part of our business model. And so again, we look at really focusing on the things that are supplemental to that. So we build a really symbiotic relationship with home health because home health is a side where the services are being dictated by what a doctor is ordering based on what is going on with that particular individual. And so they're very transactional and it's a defined time of how long you can get those services. Whereas from a home care side perspective, we're focused on what does the family need? What does the client need? And what support can provide outside of anything that a doctor might be ordering?
Okay. So with all of the different types of care that are options for seniors and adults with disabilities
Mhm.
to receive,
Yeah.
where does Right at Home fit into the aging journey?
Yeah, so right at home really, I say fits through the entire aging journey because we really focus on servicing adults, so 18 and older, those with disabilities. So when we get engaged with a particular client, really depends on where that particular client is in their own aging process and whether or not they need some assistance. So there's some individuals that need assistance in their 20s or 30s, and we will come in and assist them as well. But the lion's share of our clients are going to be in your 80s, 85-year-olds, true seniors within the population, and individuals that through the aging journey are now there's some things just aren't quite as easy, and so they're now needing someone to come in and help a little bit with those things that are harder to do, like cooking and cleaning and ambulation and those personal care types things of uh, bathing and dressing, those sorts of things. um, but at the same time we always focus on how do we help the person take advantage of what they're able to do and really focusing on their ability, not something that they're not able to do, and just supplementing them with where they could use an additional assistance.
Okay. So many people out there have a dream to become an entrepreneur, and they have a choice of starting their own business or purchasing a franchise. So, what are some of the benefits of franchising?
Yeah, what I love about franchising, because I love entrepreneurship, at its core. But the thing that makes franchising so special is because you can be in business for yourself, but not in business by yourself.
Mhm.
And so the luxury of a franchise system is you're buying into a proven process, a proven concept, something that already has standard operating procedures, things that will help you get started in the business. Now, that doesn't mean that it's cookie cutter, right?
Mhm.
And you just, follow the plan and voila, the business prospers. It really still takes an individual that's really wanting to be an entrepreneur, someone that is going to come in every day with the energy of saying, how can I continue to grow my business? But franchising is such a wonderful business model because I love the fact that as a franchisor, we come in and think about every day. How do we help our owners build sustainable, profitable businesses? Because we know we're not successful if our individual franchise owners aren't successful. And I love that alignment. And so I think if I were, anybody that's trying to start a new business, that the history has shown and studies have shown your odds of having a successful business if you get in a franchising model are much higher than if you try to do it alone.
Sure. Okay. So, what are some of the challenges of franchising? Franchising isn't for everyone. So, what are some of the things that somebody might want to consider if they're trying to decide if they should franchise or not? Some of those challenges that maybe it's not the right fit for them.
Yeah, and I would say it's not the right fit. I mean, I would be lying if I said it was the right fit for everybody. I think some of the key things that individuals have to think about is okay, yes, so franchise allows me to be in business for myself, not by myself. But if I'm a maverick, if I'm someone that, I really want to call all the shots and I really don't want to network with anybody else. I don't want to share best practices. It's all me, then franchising might not be the right business model for you because there is very much a symbiotic relationship, very much a collaborative relationship that exists in a franchising model. And that's the beauty of it, right? So if you're not really wanting to be part of a broader system, networking with other individuals that are walking in the same shoes that you are, then franchising wouldn't be a good choice.
Okay, got it. So here at Right at Home, let's pretend somebody just purchased a franchise. What are some of the things that we do here at Right at Home to help a franchise owner open their doors and launch their business?
Yeah, so we exist in order to help those owners build sustainable, profitable businesses. So the minute someone starts engaging with us and showing interest in purchasing a right at home, we want to make sure there's a good connection there. And once there, we know that there's a good connection, and both parties agree, gosh, this would be a really good partnership, for lack of a better term. We immediately start working on, okay, how can we set you up for success? So we have individuals that help you go through learning about the business. We have very comprehensive training, both face-to-face training as well as ongoing coaching that helps you get your doors open. What kind of space do you need to look for? How do you really start building this business and getting ready to take care of that first client?
How do we support franchisees once they've opened their doors?
Once a franchisee opens their door, they're immediately going to have a business performance coach that is right there working alongside them to help them build a sustainable, profitable business. Someone that's going to be on the journey with them as long as they're with the Right at Home system. So that individual is charged with understanding the strengths that each owner brings to the table, but also what are the other things that need to surround them in order to actually build out this holistic business approach. And so in those discussions and in that support, the business performance coach is going to help the franchisee engage with different subject matter experts we have here at the corporate office. So we've organized ourselves around what we call centers of excellence. And it's basically taking the entire business model and breaking it down into its core function elements, such as marketing and human resources and, caregiver recruitment and retention, those sorts of things. So that depending upon what areas we need to supplement with an owner, or areas that they need to dive deeper into because of things that are going on in their business, the business performance coach can then connect them with these subject matter experts where they can go very deep into and access best practices, go through additional training, whatever is needed in order to help that owner, you know, build that sustainable, profitable business.
Okay. How does Right at Home partner with other companies?
We partner with a lot of different companies. We have a lot of unique partnerships that support the overall business. So, for example, within the healthcare continuum, we have partnerships with, for example, home health. So, a very symbiotic relationship between what they provide in the market and how we can come alongside those resources and provide additional support to that family. We also partner with regional and national providers, even payer sources, in terms of how can we help, for example, VA payments be processed more efficiently and make sure that clients are getting access to the benefits that are provided for those types of programs. And then we also look at partnerships that help support additional aspects of aging. So we may partner with a company that is helping come in and make sure that the home is safe, and that maybe installing different elements, grab bars, and those sorts of things that are going to help support aging in the home. So we're always looking for both regional and national partnerships that help support leads in terms of helping us identify consumers that could take advantage of our services, but also helping just with the operational side of those services.
So, home care requires a license in some states. The government is constantly changing their rules and regulations on what's required of a home care license and how it's run. How does Right at Home support our franchise owners and educate them and keep them up to speed on those rules and regulations?
Yeah, so there are several ways in which we help with that. So from a licensure perspective, so if a franchisee is opening up in a state where there is licensure, we actually have specialists on staff that are going to help navigate that franchisee through the process. So, what things do you have to put in place? What policies and procedures need to be there? What are the steps you need to take in order to register with the state and be in compliance with that licensure? And then, yes, there's constant rules and regulations and different legislation that happens both at state and federal level. Things that are sometimes unique to our industry, but there's also times when things are coming out that are just around business in general, like change in minimum wage rates, right? So we also have specialists that are watching what's happening at both a federal and a state level to make sure that we can then take that information and articulate it out to the system, to our franchise owners, so that they understand, what does that mean to me? What do I need to do? Are there things that I might need to change in my operating procedures in order to stay in compliance with those rules and regulations? one key example is we do a monthly what we call Capital Watch. And it's really a look at what are things happening at a federal and state level so that everyone can kind of keep a pulse on what's happening there. But we also ask our franchise owners to be very active in their states and make sure that they're also keeping a finger on the pulse of what their local councils or their state legislatives representatives are doing so that we can make sure that they're always staying in compliance. You know, a great example of how we've helped the franchise system through compliance is this whole pandemic that we've been living through. And through that, there was lots of new regulations coming out in terms of, you know, what you had to do to be in compliance with the CDC. And so we spent a lot of time helping our franchisees navigate that because we really want our franchise owners to be able to focus on running their business. And we provide that top cover to say, and here's how you can operationalize the things that are changing from a regulation perspective.
A lot of our franchise owners don't necessarily come from a sales or marketing background. How do we assist franchise owners with that?
If we have a franchise owner that joins the system that doesn't have experience in sales or marketing, that really isn't a concern because we don't really look for any specific requirements in terms of what background you need to have in order to be a successful owner. The beauty of the franchise system is we can wrap around that individual owner and supplement any of the areas that maybe they don't have as much familiarity with. Sales and marketing being a great one. So we have, from a national perspective, we have a brand fund that all franchisees contribute to. And the purpose of that brand fund is to build national awareness about the brand and help drive inquiries into the office from national advertising, helping get a website set up. We have online specialists that are there to help you take what you're doing locally in your market and bring it to life through online and be able to tell your story. So there's lots of support that we provide from that perspective. We also have what we call a strategic leadership council that's made up of franchise owners. And that council really decides with this national brand fund, where are those dollars best spent to support all franchise owners? So again, from a national perspective, but it also, our marketing department provides specific tools and best practices and things that you can use in your local market because we realize it's a balance of local marketing as well as national marketing. And so that SLC being made up of franchise owners, they bring to the corporate office the ideas and concepts and ways in which we can make sure that we're continuing to drive brand awareness and brand loyalty. And then the business performance coaches. So the coaches will come in and help you build out a marketing plan. And so every year you'll want to sit down and think about, okay, so what things am I wanting to work on or that I need to do? Because each market is a little bit different in terms of what things you need to focus on or what opportunities you have from a marketing perspective. And your business performance coach will help with that. And then we love to share best practices. So we not only have webinars that are specific around marketing, but certainly even in our performance groups that we have, where groups of franchisees are coming together and meeting on a quarterly basis, one of the things they're constantly talking about is what's working in their market, what are things they're doing locally, and we share those best practices across the system in terms of here are things that that's working in a particular area. So there's never a loss of ideas in terms of things, and sometimes in the local markets, it's sometimes a trial and error of what's going to work in your market, but we're here to help you figure out what's gonna make a difference.
You mentioned performance groups. What are performance groups and how do franchise owners participate in those?
Great question. So I love talking about performance groups. So it's a program that we implemented in the system back in 2012. And it is one of our most popular programs in the sense that it's an opportunity for a group of franchisees to get together. And we typically have the group be 8 to 12 owners that come together, but they really act like a board of directors to each other. And so they will benchmark with each other operational data, financial data, talk about things that are keeping them up at night. You know, what are those burning issues out there? But also sharing bright ideas. And they come together quarterly to really hold each other accountable to say, okay, how is your business going? What are the challenges you're facing? What are the great things you're doing? And really make sure that each time they get together that you're continuing to work on the business and not just in the business. So we love to have people involved in performance groups, and our franchisees that participate in performance groups, we know outperform those that don't. So in terms of, gosh, how do you get into a performance group? You'll be hearing about performance groups probably when you're doing introductory calls with some of our franchise owners as you're going through the discovery process, because we have a lot of owners that participate. And it's really something that's top of mind for them that's really made a difference in their business. But certainly, once you're at least a year into the business, if you haven't already kind of inquired about performance groups and raise your hand and say, hey, I'm ready, we're probably going to start tapping you on the shoulder. So your business performance coach will likely be saying, hey, now might be a good time to actually get involved, because it is such a wonderful way and a really unique way to engage not only with the system and your peers, but you also have someone from the corporate office that's helping facilitate that. And it's just a way to really intentionally work on your business and not just in it.
It's no secret there have been some challenges in the labor market. So, what does Right at Home do to support our franchise owners with caregiver recruitment and retention?
Yeah, so caregiver and recruitment and retention, that is something that owners have to constantly be thinking about. We always say you're constantly hiring caregivers and also constantly looking for clients that can benefit from the services. But when you think about our business model, you have to have caregivers in order to have the business, right? So it's really important that as a franchise owner, that is always something top of mind. And we have an entire center of excellence that's focused around caregiver recruitment, intention, and that employee experience. That center of excellence has an entire playbook that's been put together, built upon best practices over the years, and helping franchisees think through the different stages of bringing a caregiver on. Because the goal is to obviously identify qualified caregivers, bring them onto your business, create a great experience so that they stay with you a long period of time. But there's things that you've got to think about. So we've taken that entire process and broke it down into micro experiences, and really will help franchisees and or their staff that's focused on caregiver recruitment think about each step along the way and how can you make that the best experience you can for that particular caregiver. And so a key thing that is really important with that overall experience is recognition. So we talk a lot about, and I love celebrating, we have a program called Caregiver of the Year, where at our annual meeting, we will celebrate 8 regional winners and then a national winner. And the stories of all the caregivers that get nominated is so wonderful. And it really is such a great time. And we have things we call mission moments as well that we do on a regular basis, where we're just highlighting a caregiver that's going above and beyond, or just the impact that they're having on a person's life. So constantly creating that environment, because culture is really important. So as an individual owner, because these are your employees, right? As the business owner, it's really important to create that culture where they want to come work for you. And so we spend a lot of time talking about how can you do that. And another key element is really providing good training opportunities for those caregivers. So an individual who is a caregiver, they want to have an opportunity to progress in learning new things. And so we also provide a wealth of training opportunities that the franchise owners can tap into and use with their staff to maybe provide a progression in the caregiver's career path as they move through and continue to work with that local office.
In your opinion, what does a thriving franchisee look like?
Yeah, so a thriving franchisee to me is someone that is really engaged with the system, right? They understand the value of being part of a franchise and are willing to collaborate. So not only collaborate with their peers, but collaborating with us at the corporate office, their business performance coach, because I will tell you our best ideas actually come from the field, from the franchisees that are out there building their businesses. But collaboration is really important, but also just a desire to really want to live out this mission. And I can't think of another business opportunity or business concept that brings such passion and opportunity to do something that's significant, to really have an impact on your local community. And so a really strong franchise owner is one that when you talk to them, you can just see it in their eyes. You can hear it in the way they talk about how passionate they are about really improving the quality of life for those that we serve. And that's our Right at Home mission. And it's someone that is willing to listen, but also give their voice, right? So it's someone that really wants to learn and be able to take coaching, be able to say, I'm not coming in knowing everything about the industry, and I'm willing to work collaboratively with my coach in order to build a sustainable, profitable business. And someone that is really growth mindseted, because we recognize that if you're not growth mindseted, um, if your business starts to stop growing, your business is actually declining. There's no just kind of steady, right? The minute it stops growing, it's actually declining. So the best franchise owners are those that really have a growth mindset, ones that really are wanting to continue to expand their reach and touch lives in a meaningful way.
So, what does it take to become a right at home franchisee?
Yeah, so beyond just the franchise fee itself, we look to make sure that you have at least 150 in liquid capital. We also would love to see experience, business management experience would be good because you're going to be stepping into a business, running, wearing all the hats of a business, but it's certainly not a requirement. So we can certainly supplement whatever you bring to. But if you have business management experience, that certainly is a plus. And then when you start the process, it's usually going to take about 90 days or so for the education to learn more about our concept, understand. We want you to fully understand what's in the FDD, the franchise disclosure document. Make sure you have a clear understanding. We want to make sure you talk with some franchise owners, go through a discovery day, actually, engage with different members of the corporate office. Once you're then approved and you sign the franchise agreement, then typically you're going to open your office within 6 months of that time. So you'll go through some training, and with the goal being that we want to see that office opened within 6 months of signing.
So, what does the future of right at home look like to you?
So great question. And it depends on how far out you're looking, right? So for the next couple years, I think there's obviously things happening today in the environment that we're in. We know that we have a caregiver shortage. So a lot of a focus and tension is being on how do we continue to help offices identify and bring additional caregivers into their business, because the caregiver is obviously the one that's providing the care into the home. So how can we support that? And we're also focused on how do we continue to make the business model as efficient as possible. Certainly, through going through the pandemic, there's some things that have changed, and it's accelerated some use of technology. And so we're looking at how can we use technology from an operational perspective, but also I think over the next several years, going to see more technology being used in the home. Technology has always been something out there. We've dabbled through it, or in it, I should say, through prior years. But I think as we look at the change in the consumer that is now becoming our client, they're much more tech savvy than the consumers of prior years. So I think that's going to be a change we'll see over the next several years. The healthcare as a whole is also really changing a lot. And you see a blurring of lines between home health and home care, and where there's opportunities to maybe uh, come alongside and supplement even more than what we do today. But we're also from a right at home brand perspective and thinking about the aging journey as a whole, and really looking at how can we be that household name even before someone needs care. How can we get in the home earlier and provide additional support services, whatever that means, whether it's maybe we are doing another channel of home modifications and things that will allow our franchise owners to get introduced to individuals or families earlier than mom just got discharged from the hospital, or mom just fell, or some event happens, which is typically historically when we kind of get engaged with consumers. But to think, 5 years, 10 years from now, that's where it gets really, really blurry, just because things are changing so fast. But the thing that I love about right at home and that I love about the industry is it's constantly changing, right? So there's always new opportunities and new ways to think about solving problems in a unique way. And so we do strategic planning on an annual basis, but we're constantly thinking about what's changing in the market and how do we adapt. And we leverage input from our franchise owners to help us figure out some of those questions. So it's not that we have all the answers, but we work collaboratively with the franchise system. And so we have a strategic leadership council that's made up of franchise owners, and they get really engaged with us on a regular basis in talking about what's going on in the industry and what are the things we need to do to continue to evolve and adapt. Because at the end of the day, we're focused on building sustainable, profitable businesses, and our mission is to touch as many lives as possible in bringing that mission to life to improve the quality of life for those we serve.
So why is right now a great time to become a Right at Home franchise owner?
I think now is a great time to become a franchise owner and to really get into this industry. So not only do we have the silver tsunami that we've all heard about, right, where we know that by 2030 there's going to be 8 million people over the age of 85, but we also know that every day 10,000 people are turning 65, right?
Mhm.
So we've got this huge population, they talk about the python, right, that's starting to move through this aging process. We also know that people are living longer. And so they're going to be living with chronic type issues. And with that, then we know that typically an individual 85 and older in today's environment probably is going to have at least 5 years worth of needing some level of assistance. So all the cards are stacked in terms of so much need out there, so much care that's going to need to be provided. So it's a wonderful opportunity. I also think it's a great opportunity to start a business. So um, with the economy the way it is today, 401ks are kind of taking a hit. So there may be individuals that say, you know what, I want to take that money and I want to have it work in a different way for me to really create a sustainable asset, something that I can then eventually down the road get a return on. So, Rob's programs, those sorts of things where you can roll over 401k are a great opportunity. As we saw in 2008 when we went through a recession, they're kind of calling that, in 2022, we may be moving now into a recession. We saw that our industry was a great recession-proof kind of industry. And it also provided an opportunity when there were layoffs happening in a lot of corporate America. It gave a lot of individuals that we have now in the system today an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm tired of working for somebody else, and I want to really work for myself. And so I also think it's an opportunity if you're wanting to own a business and you're wanting to build an asset that maybe you could pass down to your children, or just a way to, again, grow an investment for yourselves. There's no better way than if business is your thing, than to join a franchise system. And then when you think about franchising, then I think there's no better industry in terms of just the opportunity that cities